Good day to all. My name is Bekshan, and today I'll be presenting the introduction and background of current issues for our group's risk analysis assignment. Our chosen theme is the setup of an online platform business, which is increasingly relevant in Malaysia's digital economy. What is an online platform business? An online platform business is a digital marketplace that connects sellers and buyers through a virtual interface. These platforms can sell physical products, offer services, or even host subscriptions. In Malaysia, platforms such as Shopee, Lazada, and TikTok Shop have transformed how consumers shop and how entrepreneurs launch businesses. Online platforms offer several advantages. They require lower startup costs and are scalable and allow sellers to reach a wider market. For new entrepreneurs, this model provides flexibility, access to niche market, and the ability to use digital tools like targeted ads and secure payments. As shown here, the upward trend reflects strong potential for online platform businesses, especially among young entrepreneurs. Despite the opportunities, entrepreneurs also face several key challenges and risks when entering the online space. These include cybersecurity threats, logistic and delivery issues, intense market competition, regulatory compliance, and rising customer expectation. These charts break down the most common challenges faced by them. Cybersecurity is the biggest concern, followed by logistic disruption and competition from dominant platforms. Regulatory compliance and customer expectation also plays a critical role in shaping business success. Given these challenges, conducting a structured risk analysis is essential. It helps entrepreneurs identify potential threats, assess their likelihood and impact, and develop strategies to mitigate them. This process improves decision making, builds customer trust, and ensures long-term sustainability in the digital marketplace. In conclusion, while online platform businesses offer exciting opportunities, they also come with significant risk. Understanding these risks through proper analysis is the first step toward building a resilient and competitive business. Thank you.
A SWOT analysis is a strategic planning framework used to evaluate a project's internal strength and weakness, as well as external opportunity and threats. It helps to identify key factors that may affect the project's success and support informed decision-making for future growth and effective risk mitigation. This slide shows the SWOT analysis for our online platform business, which help us understanding both internal and external factors that may affect the project. First, in terms of strength, the online platform offers flexible business operation and high scalability. The business is not limited by physical location, allowing it to reach a wide market. In addition, operational costs are lower compared to physical store, and the availability of digital marketing tools and analytics help the business to promote product more effectively and make data-driven decisions. Next, the weaknesses include a high dependence on internet connectivity and digital platform. Any technical failure may disrupt operations. The business also has limited face-to-face interaction with customer, which can reduce trust, especially among first-time buyers. Furthermore, there is a high reliance on third-party services, such as delivery companies and payment gateway. Moving on to opportunities, the growing demand for online shopping in Malaysia provides strong market potential. The business can also expand into international markets and integrate with social media and mobile application. Additionally, the use of data analytics and personalization technologies can enhance customer experience and increase sales. Finally, the main threats include high competition from established online platforms, cybersecurity risks such as data breaches, rapid technological change, and possible change in government regulations and taxation policies. This SWOT analysis helps us identify key areas of risk and opportunity, which are important input for the risk identification and management process.
Hi, my name is Alina Sofia, and I'm going to talk about the risk identification. So, risk identification is a way to identify conditions or situations that may negatively affect the objective of the project. Therefore, we can help avoid the risks or minimize its impact. So, risk can be identified by brainstorming, documentation review, lesson learning from experience, or we can refer to experts. So the first risk is competition risk. This is a risk that that can happen when there are many or multiple sellers that sells similar or the same products. So the consequences to this is that we're going to have difficulty attracting customers, and we are going to experience price wars. The potential response to this is that we can differentiate our products through branding or have a niche target. This is, for example, we target certain demographics or certain group of people. The next risk is online scam and fraud risk. So this is a risk that can happen when we encounter scam buyers, or we experience data breaches from the platform that we use to sell products. The consequences of this is loss of customer trust and potential legal issues, and of course financial losses. The response that we can take for this is implement regular security updates and data protection policies. Next is market demand risk. This is a risk that could happen if sellers sell products that customers might not want or not really need. For example, products like masks, they are very in high demand. A few years back when COVID cases was rising, but nowadays there are still demands to it, but it's not going to be as high as it used to be. So the consequences for this risk is low sales and wasted marketing spending. The potential response that we can take is we need to do market research, analyze trends, and if we start small, we can have customer feedback. Next is the technical risk. This is a risk where the platform that we use may go down, or it may take a while to load, there may be payment issues. So the consequence to this is that it's going to result in poor customer experience, and if happened frequent enough, it could damage our reputation. The potential response to this is that we have to use reliable websites, reliable platforms. We need to research on this, and we need to have technical support and backup systems in place. Next risk is supply chain risk. So this is a potential risk where the supplier that we use may not deliver products in time, or they may be inconsistent with the quality of the products. And the consequence to this is that it's going to cause stock shortages, and of course the customers are going to complain. So what we can do about this is that we need to carefully choose our suppliers, and we also need to establish quality checks. Lastly is the financial risk. This is the risk that happens when we are starting a business. There's usually a huge upfront cost, and the consequences to this is that it may cause us to enable to cover operational expenses if, of course, the upfront cost can't cover, doesn't bring return of investment. What we can do about this is that we need to strictly manage budgets, and we need to start small. Okay, and next I will explain the risk register. The first risk is competition risk. I rate it at a likelihood of 0.9, which is pretty high, because online markets are highly competitive, because it is easy for many sellers to begin selling products. There are millions of e-commerce websites available now worldwide, so yeah, the likelihood of that happening is pretty high. The impact is pretty high too, because it is hard for new sellers to break through the market because of the amount of competition. So I'd say the risk is about 0.72, which is a high risk. Next is technical risk. I would rate the likelihood of this happening at about 0.5, which is not very high, but not too low. This is because website errors or slow loading or payment issues, it can occur even on established platforms. These technical problems do happen. So it's quite unavoidable. However, the impact is very high. It's quite high for new starting business owners because unlike bigger businesses, smaller businesses might not have backup systems to cover if these errors happen. So the risk is at about 0.4. Next is online scam and fraud risk. I rate the likelihood of this happening at about 0.5. This is because cyber attacks and data breaches are common and a growing threat for e-commerce businesses. With billions lost annually through frauds and attacks, however, the likelihood of this happening to smaller businesses is not that very high. However, if it does happen, the impact is quite high, quite big for smaller sellers because we may not have the funds or the knowledge to overcome these situations. So the risk is at about 0.4, which is a high risk. Next, we have the supply chain risk. So I rate this risk, the likelihood of this risk happening at about 0.5, which is not very high risk and not very high likelihood. This is because sourcing reliable suppliers is a pretty known difficulty for new online businesses. So this issue may happen, however, because there are a lot of suppliers out there, the chance of that happening is not very high. But the impact, if it were to happen, is also not very low. It is not very high because smaller business owners don't tend to invest a lot of money in buying huge amount of stocks. So if we do encounter bad suppliers, it's not going to be so impactful. So the risk is at about 0.2. Next is the market demand risk. So the likelihood of this happening is pretty high. It's about 0.9. This is because new online businesses often choose products without fully understanding customer demands because usually people just want to sell products and they don't really do much research about the market demands. And trends change quickly, so the likelihood of this happening is very high. The impact can also be pretty high because if we start with the wrong product, it might cost us in marketing and product supplies and etc. So the risk is at about 0.72. Lastly, we have financial risk. I rate the likelihood of this happening at about 0.7. This is because businesses usually spend money on products and marketing before earning a stable income. We have to invest a certain amount to start the business, and small businesses are more likely to face cash flow problems in the early stages because we do not have the sales to back up the upfront costs. So the impact of this risk can be pretty high because if we start the business overestimating the cost, it might impact us in the long run. So the impact is at about 0.8, which totals the risk at about 0.56. So all of the risks, I can conclude that all of the risks I have listed can be considered high risk.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Jason Ghazali. Today, I am presenting probability and impact analysis. This slide shows the probability and impact analysis metric. It helps us assess risk severity by multiplying the likelihood of an event with its impact. The above represent probability from very likely 0.9 to very unlikely 0.1, and the columns represent impact level. The color body indicates risk priority, green for low, yellow for medium, orange for significant, and red for high risk. For example, a probability of 0.9 with the highest impact gives a score of 0.72, which is critical and needs immediate attention. This analysis helps us focus on the most severe risks.
Okay, this slide shows the probability and impact analysis for the key project risk. We classify risk into 5 levels, from very low to very high, based on how likely they are to occur and how serious their impact will be on the project objective. First, you can see is the competition risk. If competition is very low, the market has a few customers. However, at the very high level, the market becomes saturated with many global and local competitors, which can reduce profit and market share. Okay, for next is online scam and fraud risk with strong cyber security. Exposure is minimal, but at a higher level, frequent scam can be reduce customer trust and cause serious financial and reputational damage. Okay, for the last one in this slide is market demand risk. Low risk means demand is stable and predictable. At very high risk, demand may collapse or the product may fail to meet customer needs, which can severely affect the sale. Okay, we continue from the previous slide. Okay, for this slide, focus on integrated operational risk, including technical, supply chain, and financial risk. For the technical risk, if very low risk means rare system issue. As the risk increase, frequent or persistent failure may disrupt operation or make the platform unusable. Okay, for the second risk is supply chain risk. Stable supplier means smooth operation. However, severe breakdown in supply can halt production or delay delivery completely. Okay. Lastly, in this table is financial risk. Financial risk is show how budget control affect the business. Low risk means indicate good cash flow management, while very high risk means critical financial stability that can threaten business survival. Okay, for this part is quantitative analysis. Quantitative risk analysis aims to further evaluate the identified risk by assigning numerical values to their potential impact on the project budget and schedule. Quantitative analysis used to measurable data to estimate the probability of accuracy and the financial of schedule consequence of each risk. For this project, which is an online platform business, we estimate the total project cost to be 10,000 ringgit and the project duration to be within 6 months. Okay, for this part, I make quantitative analysis table by using expected monetary value or AMV we call. Each risk is evaluated based on its likelihood and impact. We then estimate the potential financial loss and calculate EMV by multiplying likelihood with estimate loss. For example, market demand risk and competition risk have the highest EMV, meaning the pose the greatest financial threat to the project. The total project risk exposure is 10,000 30,000 ringgit Malaysia, which represent the combined expected loss from all identified risks. This analysis helps us to provide risk mitigation effort, especially for risks with higher AMV value.
In conclusion, online business in Malaysia have grown rapidly due to increased internet access and digital technology. Second, e-commerce platform provides flexibility, scalability, and low operational costs, attracting many entrepreneurs. Third, SWOT analysis shows strong strength and opportunity, but weakness and threat remains. Fourth, risk assessment reveals competition risk 0.72 and marketing risk 0.72 as the highest, followed by financial risk 0.56 and online fraud risk 0.40. Finally, total project risk exposure 10,300 ringgit requiring strong mitigation strategies. The suggestion that we can apply for this assignment is that to strengthen cybersecurity and fraud prevention. Second, diversify logistics and supply chain to reduce operational disruption. Third, build customer trust through transparent communication and quality service. Fourth, invest in market research and analytics to identify and avoid saturation. 5. Manage finance carefully and compare with regulation to ensure stability. There are also a few things that we can learn from this assignment. First of all is that online business offer high growth potential but requires strong operational and security frameworks. Second, market research and customer trustability are essential to survive in a competitive environment. Third, financial planning and compliance with regulation are critical to avoid long-term instability. That's all for me. Thank you for listening.